Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, double honors to the apostles, elders, great millstone that rule well, taught us truth, and blessings to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is Brother Yakel. A very short lesson, Lord willing, will be edifying. It's coming from some information, and this has happened before because with the whole thing what's happened in Venezuela, if you go back in time, they did the same thing in Panama. All right. Now Panama is the indigenous people there in Panama are Israelites from the tribe of Zebulon. And in history, when you've looked at America destroying Central America, South America, the one thing they've been doing has always been testing, using our people, Israelites, as guinea pigs to test their weapons. All right. And I remember Apostle Hart said this to watch something called the Panama Deception, and I've watched that. That was years ago, and he mentioned that they used sonic kind of laser weapons. And now I'm finding out that that's what they used in Venezuela. Because remember, this is who's in power? Esau. He's in power and he's blessing with a sword. All right, we're going to get that. But this is on Reddit. It says, laser weapons during Operation Just Cause. Is it true? All right. I have read from a few sources and they suggest that America tested secret weapons on the Panamanians, and that's absolutely true, man. Because when you watch that Panama Deception, you had many Israelites who was caught up in that war. Well, it was the invasion by America to get Noriega. All right, and basically there were body parts everywhere. People. You know, there was people that actually melted to death. You know, it was feet, arms, and legs. Even when you saw in a documentary, The Panama Deception. So they use weapons that are not your average bullets or whatever. And this is what this Reddit post is saying. There are reports of cars sliced in half and melted bodies. See? All right. Further research doesn't seem to come up with cold hard facts confirming this. All right. Now, that's about what happened in Panama, and that was what, in 1989. Fast forward now. All right. Fast forward now to earlier this year, and what they did with the invasion of Venezuela. How they were able to go in quickly and come out quickly. All right. But let me just remind you a little bit, just play a little bit of this so you can remind you of what happened with the Panama. All right. And the main point of all this stuff is this man is getting so arrogant that these other nations are going to come against him. All right. Because these other nations like China and Russia, they've got these kind of weapons as well, man. All right, and then you're hearing the America and NATO and the EU, you know, saying how wicked and bad Russia is, and how they're doing an illegal invasion of Ukraine. But this was illegal, so this is all going to culminate. You know, we know that prophecies have to come to pass first, like Jacob's trouble. All right, the MOTB. All right, being established worldwide. But this third world war will happen. And it's because of the arrogancy of Babylon the Great, which is America. But to remind you a little bit of the Panama operation, and I remember Apostle was saying, if you watch that, man, he said, if you watch that documentary, you'll shed a tear. I remember I watched it and it was terrible. It was horrible what the Americans did. You know, and the weaponry to actually do these things to slice bodies in half, to slice cars in half, had to be a very high-tech weapon. All right. Let me just play this to give you an example of what happened in Panama.
It was December 1989 when President George H.W. Bush ordered U.S. troops into Panama to capture the country's de facto military dictator on federal drug trafficking charges. It was called Operation Just Cause, and a young captain who you see here, Chris Costa, was working as a counterintelligence officer. The capture of Maduro occurred 36 years to the day after Noriega's surrender. A deliberate echo of historical precedent? Maybe. A far more complex geopolitical reality? Absolutely. Retired Army Colonel Chris Costa, and now Executive Director of the International Spy Museum, joins me for more perspective. Chris, great to see you. Let's talk about the capture first. Similarities and differences on how you captured Noriega and then how Delta Force captured Maduro.
Well, clearly I didn't capture Noriega myself, but what we did do is put a great deal of pressure on him by conducting an invasion. And that's the significant difference. An invasion forces, like 23,000 soldiers, 26,000 soldiers executed Operation Just Cause on the ground in Panama, conducting multiple operations to try to identify where Noriega was and bring him to justice. And of course, the operation kicked off on 20 December, a few days before Christmas. And it wasn't until 24 December when Noriega turned himself in to the Papal Nuncio, which was essentially a safe diplomatic site for him.
Yeah, and by the way they got Noriega is that he went into a Catholic church, which was a part of the Vatican. All right. And basically what they did, they had these loudspeakers and they put rock music, real devil's music, and played it for 3 days, man. It was psychological torture. All right. But this is what the Lord has given Esau. He's given him the blessing of the sword. All right. And I'm going to show you, there's a video that shows that they actually use these weapons, these sonic weapons, in Venezuela. That's how they were able to get in and out. You know, one of the people, one of the security guys said, look, I think I've got it here actually. This is in Forbes. All right. Yeah, this is Forbes online. Epic win. U.S. secret weapon may have incapacitated Maduro's guards. All right. And it's talking about these sonic weapons that they have. All right. And this is a quote from one of the guards. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear I've never seen anything like it, a Venezuelan security guard says in a video widely shared on social media and promoted by the White House. See? Promoted by the White House. So they want people to know that they've got these weapons so they can be fear of them. But, you know, so they can be scared of them. But that's going to lead to your downfall, because what does the Bible say? Pride. Well, when you have pride, then the next thing is to fall, man. You know? I mean, this man is a snake, but I'm telling you, there's verifiable evidence of this. Now, if we go to the scriptures, all right, we go to Genesis 27 and 38, all right, when Esau was weeping for his blessing, all right, this is Genesis 27 and 38, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Verse 39, and Isaac his father, and Isaac was who? Yahushua in the reincarnation. All right. he gave that blessing, and that's why he's going to come back in the chariot with the angels to take that blessing away from Esau and destroy his kingdom and establish his. which is a beautiful thing. And he said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. Oops, I go down here, sorry. It's my keyboard here. Yep. Verse 39, Isaac, his father, answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven above. Verse 40, this is the main blessing that he got. Alright. Genesis 29 and 40. Genesis 27 and 40. And by thy sword thou shalt live. Alright. By thy sword thou shalt live. Alright. And thou shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So his blessing was what? The sword, man. It said, by the sword thou shalt live. And if you look at Edomites, so-called white people, they have lived by the sword. How did they get America? Alright. How did they get America? How did they get Europe? People think they originated from Europe. No, they didn't originate from Europe. They originated from Jordan, man. Alright. Mount Seir, Petra. Around that area, which is in modern day Jordan. That's why if you look at Jordan, here we go, there's it, Jordan. Yeah, if you look at the country Jordan and their monuments. Alright, this is Jordan in the Middle East. Look at their monuments, man. You know, that looks like a Roman Colosseum. You know, because a lot of these monuments was done. See, look, hidden monument in Petra. And this looks exactly like how the Romans designed their capital, Rome. All right. So that's why the Bible is everything, man. You know. This is their civilization that they left. They're originally from the Middle East, like us, the so-called Middle East, like us. All right, but the main point I'm trying to make here is it said, "By the sword thou shalt live." All right, Isaac gave that blessing on to Esau, and Esau is the progenitor. All right, the father of who? The Edomites, who are so-called white people today. That's the reason why they could go in and do what they did in Venezuela. All right. Now, this is a good video that kind of explains it. I'll play it.
In Venezuela to disarm Maduro's defense people before executing all of them. I know it's been a couple of days now, people are asking questions. What really happened in Venezuela? What occurred? Well, we have some ideas here. The US used sonic weapons on Venezuela troops before unaliving each one of them one by one. Now, this is a crazy testimony moving to a next level of warfare, and I think this is crazy stuff. Some Venezuelans and Cuban sources have alleged that the US force used sonic electronic weapons during the raid, describing the symptoms of these weapons as headaches, nausea, disorientation, vomiting blood, before American soldiers came down and started executing one by one. So basically, before they got into Maduro's house, it really wasn't about firepower. First, it was electronic warfare, disabling the defense system of Maduro, shooting the bodyguards one by one because they were unable to fight. The claim comes from an account from a loyalist of Maduro, which was,
once a year I do a program that's for free. I start
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. She retweeted it. Apparently, Venezuela radars and system were suddenly disabled without an explanation. Then drones swamped position. Then US force demonstrated overwhelming firepower and precision. Then a strange sound, a wave like a weapon, caused nosebleeds, vomiting blood, and immobilization, inability to fight back by the Venezuelans. There is a transcript about it, and here what it say. I'm going to read so you can hear. The transcript said, "We didn't hear anything coming. We were on guard, but suddenly all the radar systems shut down without any explanation. The next thing we saw were drones, a lot of drones, flying over our position. We didn't know how to act. At one point, they launched something, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt like my head was exploding from the inside. We all started bleeding from the nose. Some were vomiting blood. We fell on the ground, unable to move. Those 20 men without a single casualty killed hundreds of us. We had no way to compete with their technology, with their weapons. I swear I had never seen anything like it. We couldn't even stand up after the sonic weapon or whatever it was. This is crazy stuff, fellas. This is absolutely unheard of. Well, not necessarily unheard of, but this is something very interesting to look into. So the United States of America used sonic weapons against Maduro's guards. The White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, this lady here, the one that said that the South African president was running his mouth a little bit.
I saw the South African president running his mouth a little bit against the United States and the president of the United States earlier today, and that language is not appreciated.
Yeah, a lot of people found that.
See, that's how arrogant they are, man. That's why it's going to come down to this Third World War. There's a bit I want to show you there, where it shows you that these weapons actually exist. All right, this guy does a very good job, and he's got a good channel. Yeah, Zach Mokeza. All right, I think that's the way he describes his name. But he does a very good job of bringing out a lot of things in geopolitics, etc., especially when it comes to imperialism and the African continent. All right, which is a good thing. But he has, in this bit here, it shows you that they had a Senate hearing about this. All right, so this is real. This is not fantasy. This is reality, man. All right, let me try and play this.
Electronic warfare, you've probably seen it in movies. It's basically the use of electromagnetic energy, like radio waves, radar signals, and even cyber tools to detect, disrupt, deceive, or destroy an enemy ability to communicate, navigate, or fight. So this is basically like superpowers. We are very slowly entering a very dangerous position. Listen to this.
There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things, especially on the low duration, the low intensity, long duration hits.
Are either of you aware of any individuals who have AHI symptoms have passed away from their ailments?
I do.
I do.
Have any of you three panelists ever seen one of these weapons?
I have seen a 1991 version of the weapon, and it looks like a satellite dish with a unit this size attached to it. And of course, over the years, miniaturization has been possible. Obviously, there's a limitation to how miniaturized it can be because of the antenna size, which is always related to the wave. But still, it is something that can be well contained in the trunk of a car or even a large backpack.
You can hear the man say this.
See, did you hear that? He said 1991 version. All right, so Noriega, that whole operation was 2 years before that, 1989. All right, so I'm sure they use these weapons. Okay, this is, but hey, the Lord has given him that blessing, and that's why Yahushua is going to come back and take it away.
Makes people go crazy. So you have like a gadget, okay? You hear me right? A device that allows you, enables you to make people feel crazy while you're fighting. Remember, war is not a fair fight. Okay, at war you can actually upskill yourself with steroids, pump yourself bigger, stronger, faster. You could use whatever you can. You can pinch somebody in the nose or put your finger in the eye. It's war. Now, America can use modern electronic warfare by making people go crazy before they start shooting. So when you go crazy, you start vomiting blood, you lose consciousness, or you become dizzy. You're done. They just need to put a gun on you. You can't fight anymore. This is what they say happened in Venezuela. So US Pentagon calls it the...
See, there you go. That's why. Oh, wow. This devil, man. Hey, the Lord has given this devil a lot of liberty, but it's for prophecy's sake. He's going to take it away. You know? This man. You know? And we have to show you these things because when all hell breaks loose, they're going to use these weapons on our people, man. All right? But if you're a part of the elect, the Lord will have a spiritual hedge around you. You know? These things are going to happen, man. This is not a fantasy. This is reality. All right? There are going to be very bad things going on. There's going to be concentration camps. There's going to be more fake terrorist attacks. All right? And it's all going to be done by your government that you pay taxes to. How about that? You know? This is Revelation 16 and 14. For they are the spirit of devils. All right? Working miracles. And what miracles is that? His technology. All right? His technology, man. Okay? You think that America's the only one that has that technology? No. I guarantee you Russia's got that technology. China's got that technology. Just like with the nukes. At first, it was the atomic bomb. And then everyone else. I mean, India's got nukes now. You know? Because they get people, experts, to replicate what the other countries had. What America had. Etc. For they are the spirit of devils working miracles, their technology, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day of the Most High Almighty. And what's that great day? World War III. All right, that's what's coming. You know, so that's another reason why, you know, this ministry, Hawashi's ministry, all right, our warfare is not carnal. It's spiritual. All right. Right now, it's spiritual, but it will get physical, man. All right. It will get physical because the elect is going to get powers, man. All right. The Lord is going to raise a standard. But right now, we have this word. We have to push this word. All right. And not be like them. Because at the end of the day, if you look at it throughout our history, you know, a lot of the prophets, they died, man. And they died in horrible ways. You know, some died against, you know, the enemy. You know, but a lot of the times, many of the prophets died because of our own so-called wicked people. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killed the prophets. You know? So we have to be spiritual right now. All right, this is 2 Corinthians 10 and 4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, unlike Esau, but mighty through the Most High, pulling down of strongholds. And those strongholds are lies, man. All right, that's what this word, that's what Yahweh's doctrine does. It destroys the lie. And the biggest lie is that the so-called white man, the Edomites, are superior to everyone else. They're not. They're the bases of men. All right? A base, like when you go to, what's this, in Daniel? You know, base. Like when you go to a car dealership, right? Yeah, when you go to a car dealership, you have models of cars. And, you know, you might go in there, you want a Ford Puma or whatever. They have a base model. That's the basic model. Well, the Heavenly Father is telling you that they're the basis of men. All right? He's giving the basis of men a lot of power, but he's going to take that power through his son when he comes back. It's Daniel 4 and 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers and of the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. Meaning that Most High puts different races in positions of power, all right, to fulfill his prophecy and his will, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. All right, the basis of men. And that's what Esau is. He's the base. He's the lowest man on the planet Earth. But the Heavenly Father has given him that power because his blessing was the sword. All right. But the Lord is going to lift up a standard against him. And that standard is going to be what? Spiritual power, man. All right? For the elect. I'll just give you one scripture on that and I'll get it close. I don't want to make it too long. You know. So against, you know, against that kind of weaponry, you know, if you look at it from a carnal perspective, you're going to think, oh, we got no chance then. You know what I mean? Because they got those kind of weapons. But the Lord is not. The Lord is all about the underdog. And we're the underdog right now because we're at the bottom. All right. This is Isaiah 40 and 29. All right. He giveth power to the faint. And to them that have no might, he increaseth strength. And that's what's going to happen in these last days, man. All right. Even, verse 30, even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. Because there's going to be a lot of killing going on in these last days, man. When all these prophecies pop off. All right. Verse 31, but they that wait upon the Lord, Yahweh, it says Lord in caps, which means Yahweh, shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. So many of the elect members get the spiritual power are going to be flying like eagles, man. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not be faint. That is spiritual power. That's an example, and you're gonna have to have that spiritual power because of this wickedness. All right. I mean, look at this devil, man. He's actually proud of, you know, this whole Noriega thing. And by the way, Noriega was on their payroll. And he just, you know, he just stopped. He just basically didn't like giving orders anymore from the Americans. You know, so they actually took him out. You know, and now this guy's bragging about it. You know, but pride goes what before a fall, man. All right, but that's the kind of weapons they've got, and at least now you know the reason why Esau, the so-called white man, has these weapons, because the Lord has given it to him. But what the Lord can give, he will take away, and that's why his son's coming back. You know, to take away the wicked and root them out of the earth, man. You know, because you can't have a peaceful kingdom with your own creation that thinks that he's higher than you, because they have a God complex. That's why they got those weapons, man. But it all goes back to Esau's blessing, which was a sword. All right. So I'll pray you were edified to the next lesson. Shalom.